Hey guys, well, this is going to be a review on a movie that's non-horror movie, so it's like my first non-horror movie review. But actually this movie comes from like another series of movies which are kind of horror movies. I mean, like, they have horror elements, but I don't really consider them horror movies as much as I consider them to be action adventure. And the movie is The Scorpion King 3. And of course, like I just said, that it comes from like movies that are like horror movies. It's basically part of the Mummy series, having this Blu-ray box set. But like I just said, I consider these more of action adventure than horror. And of course, I do have the other Scorpion King movies right over here. I mean, I'm a fan of the Mummy series. I mean, I like all three movies, even the third one, which a lot of people don't like. Could admit that it's a movie I actually did like. I do like the Scorpion King movies, of course. I mean, like the first one for sure. And the second one, I'm going to admit as well, I actually enjoyed it. It's a movie I can hate myself for liking. Probably because I had low expectations when I watched this movie. So I was saying to myself that this is not going to be a good movie. It's not going to be the blockbuster of the year. So since I had low expectations, it became an enjoyable movie because of the way I watched it. And also because it was directed by Russell Mulcahy, who directed Highlander, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. So anyway, let's get started on this. The Scorpion King 3, Battle for Redemption. To be honest, I kind of didn't really feel that this movie needed to be made, but I actually, I'll tell you the truth, I actually did like this movie. I felt that this movie was only made to, so Universal doesn't lose the rights to the Mummy movies. I'm taking that guess though, I haven't read any information. It's taken a wild guess though. Don't know that for sure because, I mean, heck, Fox is making all these X-Men prequels and spin-offs just so they can keep the rights to the X-Men movies, and also Dimension made that Hellraiser Revelations movie just to keep the rights to the Hellraiser movies. And so I saw this because I'm a fan of the Mummy series and the Scorpion King series. And this was directed by Roel René, the director of The Marine 2 and Death Race 2. I like those movies. And I also read that he's directing Death Race 3, which is entitled Death Race Inferno, set to come out later this year. I'm excited for that. And this movie is set after the first movie, which was kind of confusing for me because the second movie was a prequel, so it's Matthias when he was like 18. And so I was thinking this is going to be like set in between the second and first one, like after the second movie and before the first movie. But it turns out I was wrong. So it's set after the first movie. Matthias is no longer the Scorpion King. He's lost his whole empire and his queen. His queen is now dead. So he's no longer the Scorpion King anymore. So he's back to what he's doing in the beginning of the first movie. He's now a paid assassin, just like who he was in the first movie, the beginning of the first one. So he's back to doing that now, just doing jobs for the kings, basically going on these missions for gold. And now he's going on this mission that was given to him by King Horus, who's played by Ron Perlman, to help King Romulus, who's fortunately I forgot the actor's name, but I know he's played by the actor that played Jango Fett in Star Wars Episode 2. And also King Horus's brother Talus is played by Billy Zane, so they're at war against each other. So King Rammus is guarding the Book of the Dead. So, and Talus wants that book to resurrect these ghosts from the underworld to take back what he thinks is rightfully his, the kingdom, because he feels that he deserved to be king and not King Horus. And of course, Matthias is on a mission to help protect the book, and is also given this partner, Olaf, who's basically this really big, clumsy warrior who actually added some humor to this movie. Because probably without him, maybe this movie would have been too serious. I mean, even though I did like this movie, however, there were a couple of flaws in it. Like there were some bad CGI parts in the movie. There was some green screen shots which kind of showed, and there was also some bad fire CGI work. But maybe I should also say there were some bad CGI in the second movie as well. But I actually got past the bad CGI in the second movie, and I definitely should get past that in this one as well because this was just straight to DVD. They obviously it was low budget production, and they didn't have like a budget like a theatrical movie like the first one. So I can get past all that. I mean, heck, this was definitely a better story than the second movie because the second movie, the story was just unoriginal. We also had the ghosts from the underworld were played by Dave Bautista and Kimbo Slice, some very big wrestlers. And the action sequences were very well done. There was more action in this than there was in the second movie. So this one was definitely better than the second movie. I also saw Raul Renee's trademark film work, his camera work, sorry. How he basically films the action sequences very close, gets close to the action with the camera. And he also just runs around the action sequences with the camera. Because I watched the making of after I watched this movie, and I saw that they filmed in actual temples. So no, those weren't sets that you saw that weren't CGI'd. Those were actual temples they filmed in Thailand. And of course, I believe this is supposed to be set in Egypt, but filmed in Thailand. And I thought Victor Webster, he did a pretty good job as Matthias. Of course, he didn't top The Rock, but he did a pretty good job. And this is actually the first time we see Matthias with a beard. Now, it's taken a while, I guess, because since Victor Webster, since he doesn't really look like The Rock, so I'm guessing they screwed that beard, so you can't really tell the difference. He still had the same hairdo, though. Had the hair all combed back, long hair, and ponytails and whatnot. So, in my personal opinion, I actually really enjoyed this movie for what it was. I mean, I saw people not really liking it on IMDb. Probably because it didn't really look all Egyptian looking, because there were jungle parts and whatnot. And there was also times where Matthias and Olaf were fighting all these ninjas. I mean, I'll admit those suits did look kind of fan-made looking. But it's what can you do with a low budget? What can I say? What can you do with a low budget? And also, Victor Webster was definitely physically fit for this role. I mean, when you see him in this movie, you can definitely see how big muscled he is. He was towered over everyone in this movie. That's another thing also they was showing in the making of is that since you saw they had a bunch of extras and war sequences, battle sequences, they actually literally had over hundreds of extras. It wasn't all CGI like what we saw in 300 CGI and extras. They were actual extras. Nearly, they said 500 extras just for this movie. For a straight hate to DVD and Blu-ray movie. So I actually really enjoyed this. Very good action adventure movie. Worth seeing. Better than the second Scorpion King. Not better than the first one though. And maybe I would like to see another Scorpion King movie. Also, I probably should have mentioned this earlier in the movie, since I just mentioned I felt they only did this just to keep the rights to the Mummy movies, because I've done online reading that they're supposed to do a fourth Mummy movie, which is titled Mummy 4: Rise of the Aztecs. Maybe they're just trying to get that off its feet, so they just made this movie. Like I said, I've read no information if they only kept this, only made this just so they can keep the copyrights. Haven't read that. So anyway, this was a good movie, worth seeing. Check it out. Scorpion King 3, Battle for Redemption. I really liked this movie. And that's about it.